The vehicles of James Bond. They are gorgeous and beautiful machines. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a while, going over my favorite vehicles, the cars from the James Bond movies. And I'm going to tell you up front, I thought I had my favorite ones kind of picked out already, but the more I looked at them and the actual interior, not just from the movies, but the actual interior, and I'm going to be sharing some pictures with you of the actual vehicles. Maybe somebody has them on sale online, things like that. So more of the actual vehicles out there, not just what we see in the movie. But I came to a realization of which car was my favorite. And so we're going to take a look. We're going to take a look at a bunch of the different cars from James Bond. And here's a nice little representation of what some of those cars look like. And yeah, I thought we could have fun with this. And I wanted to share with you why I love these cars so much. I'm not a car enthusiast, but I think when you see my first car that I owned, you'll understand. My first car was a 1974 280Z. It was a California style. It was this color. It was, but the paint wasn't as good. Here's the seating that's in the car. It was an automatic because it was a California Z, and I loved that car. I loved it so much. And yeah, look at that console. Look at the shifter. Had the clock in the dash along with the temp gauge, the fuel gauge, the battery. You got the stereo, and I just tell you, I loved this car so much. So that was my first car. Here's Bond's most famous car, the Aston Martin DB5. Now, one may think automatically this would be my favorite car, and for many it is. This is the iconic Bond car. And look at the interior. When we look at the interior here, this is an actual one. And so you've got the switches, and look at the panel. Look how gorgeous. It's got that beautiful clock on there. It was great. But I really loved the Lotus. I loved the Lotus Esprit Turbo. To me, this was one of my favorite cars. And I was tempted to say that this was going to be my favorite car out of all of them. Because growing up, this is the car I wanted. This is why I loved the 280Z so much. It had that nice low to the ground look to it. That great dimension. I love this car. It's got that 80s look to it. But it made almost like I guess kind of a Knight Rider, a little bit kind of a look to it, you know. But it's got that nice shape that I love. And then, of course, you have this beautiful car. And we don't get to see it very often in the movie and For Your Eyes Only. Before they do this. Boom. Kaboom. It's gone. Oh, my heart breaks every time I see this car explode when I watch the movie. And thank goodness we at least got to see it in the red. So here's the interior. This is the inside of the Lotus Esprit Turbo. Look at that middle console. That is thick. And look at the panel up there with the speedometer and everything. Look at this panel. How futuristic looking is that? It looks like something out of an aircraft. It kind of looks like the submarine panel, right? That we saw in The Spy Who Loved Me. And here we go again. This is another interior to it. I love the gear shift. Look at the radio down by the gear shift and just the buttons on the panel. I love it. It's so retro. Look at the cigarette ashtray right there on the handbrake. Okay, now this was a vehicle that I was not expecting to like that much. Guess what this is? This is a... one second, let me think. It's a Toyota. A Toyota 2000 GT. This was in You Only Live Twice. So the Toyota 2000 GT. And at first, when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, yeah, that's kind of cool. It's got a little bit of the that nice Sport 280Z almost kind of look to it a little bit. And then I saw the interior. And I was like, oh, what a gorgeous car. Look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. And I love the design of it. I love the panel. It's got the old clock in there, along with all the different gauges. Look at that big round steering wheel compared to the size of everything else. But what a beautiful car this is. I liked this car a lot more the more I looked at it and the interior. Okay, now Bond's BMW. And I gotta admit, I was never a big fan of the BMW. It's a nice looking car. And of course, BMWs are, what is this? The BMW Z3? Is that what this one is? Or I can't remember which BMW this is. I'm sorry. This is the BMW or the Z8. BMW Z8, perhaps. It's a nice interior. It's pretty sporty. It's eye-catching. It's pretty cool looking. But everything's in the middle console. I kind of don't like that. If I'm looking straight ahead, I would feel weird. Now, the 71 Mustang, the Ford Mustang Mach 1. This was a pretty cool car. Very basic. It's a Ford. It's a Ford Mustang. But there's some interesting features when I was looking at some interior pictures to this. Of course, it's a muscle car. It's got a heck of an engine. But, okay, so look in here. I was shocked that this car looked the closest to my 280Z on the interior than any of them. Probably because they're around the same year. But look how low those seats are. Like you're sitting right on the frame. And that's how the 280Z was. You were sitting like on the floor. And then the back, the storage area, this looked kind of similar to a 280Z as well. And the console, all the round gauges around the console. You've got the clock right there by the gear shift. And it's got that cool look for the time. You could definitely tell the time that this car came out. So I gave it props because it was better than I was expecting. Okay, now this is the Aston Martin from Casino Royale. So the Aston Martin, and I can't remember which one this one is. I'm so bad. I should have written these down. But so the Aston Martin from Casino Royale. Look at the interior on that. Look at the stitching on the dash, on the middle console. It's just a beautiful car. It's got the clock on it. It's just got the nice lines to it. It's just a beautiful, gorgeous car. And look how clean. Just look how clean that is. And it's got a great look to it. Looks like the driving experience on this vehicle would be amazing. And another look on the interior there. Looks like all the bells and whistles on this one. And the gear shift, I love it. Okay, back to a BMW. And this is what Tomorrow Never Dies. And so this BMW, there was a video of this one guy that reviewed cars. He said it was like the most gorgeous like sedan ever made. And I look at it and yeah, I just kind of see your typical car. Yeah, there's a lot of buttons. And I'm sure it's very comfortable, great ride. But it looks like your typical car. So this one didn't do it so much for me. Because it kind of just looks like a very typical vehicle. Nothing that special. It's like it doesn't have that look of a Lotus. Okay, now here we go. Now this is the BMW. Is this the Z or is this the Z3? I can't remember. But this now I looked at the interior for this BMW, and this was from GoldenEye. It looks like a Honda. Seriously, I'm looking at it going, man, this kind of looks like the interior to like a Honda Civic or something. Yeah, nothing really special here. The outside of it, really cool. Got a great sporty look to the outside of it. On the inside, looks like a Honda to me. Okay, so then we come to the man with the golden gun. And this is the, which one is this? This is the Hornet, the AMC Hornet. Now this is the base model and interior of a base model. Look how clean and crisp that is. I mean, no bells and whistles, but it's kind of sharp looking, I thought. And then here we go. I don't think this is the base unit on this one. Look at the two AC. The little AC things down on the sides. I think that's great. Look at that. Look at the little AC things down on there. And that looks like it would have had an 8-track in it if it was really souped up. But so this was just kind of a cool little car to take a look at, the Hornet. I thought that was fun just to look at. Not one that I would run out and buy for sure. Okay, so next, after the Hornet, oh yeah, I do remember looking at this part and thinking, yeah, this is definitely a sign of the time. But I like the metal on there. I think that's kind of a cool look, very retro looking, of course. All right, here we go. So this was from On Her Majesty's Secret Service, and let's see, which one was this? The Mercury. I think it's a Mercury. Yeah, Mercury Cougar. And the interior on this was like, okay, yeah, that's kind of, that looks like a Mercury. It really does. It looks kind of like the big car. It's got that look to it. But I like the seat handles on the side there to flip the seat up. Boy, that is old school. I loved that look. And the shifter for the automatic, I love that. That reminds me of those older cars. That was the automatic, and they really made a big deal out of that center shift for the automatic. I loved it. Okay, here we go. This is the Aston Martin from The Living Daylights. So Aston Martin V8 Vantage Volante. And it showed up again in No Time to Die. And so that was a nice nod to see that again. But look at the console in here for this Aston Martin. Oh, it's great. And I had a picture of somebody who was sitting in the middle in the vehicle. You have no idea really until you see someone sitting in it how wide that middle console is. It is like twice the width of most middle consoles. But look at all that. Oh boy, what a cool looking car. I mean, this right here, it kind of looks like a boat. If you think it's just kind of wide, really open up, but it's really nice and sharp. Okay, here we go. Another Aston Martin. And now this Aston Martin was pretty gorgeous as well, because was this Die Another Day, and this is the one that disappears with the invisibility, but it's got great lines to it. But then the inside, again, everything inside, it's clean, it's crisp, it looks really comfy, and those bucket seats look really nice and comfortable. It looks a little more mainstream, maybe, for an Aston Martin, kind of more obtainable kind of a look to it. It's got the clock there in the middle of the dash, which I really like. That's really nice looking. All right, now this is the Aston Martin DB10. Is that a DB10 from Spectre? And this was also just a beautiful car. The outside, it's got that nice sporty look to it. It's really slimmed down, like it's skinny, like made really thin, and like the eyes are kind of just barely open. But then inside, look at this. I mean, this looks like the ultimate sports car driving experience. And look at the shape of the steering wheel, really cool. And the shifter right where it is. But this looks like it's sporty and luxury combined. And it really is a sharp looking car. The interior, this is a brand new one. I think I got a picture here. This is kind of a newer one, the interior of this car, and it was made just for Bond fans, like it's going to become available. And it was an On Her Majesty's Secret Service edition that it looked like. I was like, wow, that's really cool. So what a beautiful car that was, the one from Spectre, the Aston Martin Spectre. Made me wonder, okay, could Lotus, because I'm starting to fall in love with Aston Martin over the Lotus, because I thought I was going to pick Lotus. This is a brand new Lotus. This is the new Lotus, 2023. At least I believe so from when I Googled it. And look at the inside. Look at the inside of this Lotus. That's really cool. It looks a lot like the Aston Martin, and kind of like they're doing it, but they still have the old console up front, the digital, kind of making it still look a little bit like the Lotus used to look. I think that's pretty cool. I still don't like the outside of it as much. So we kind of just did an overview there and looked at some of the major, better known vehicles of Bond movies. So what are my favorites? Which ones do I like the most? Well, like I said, I thought I was probably going to pick the Lotus, because growing up, I just loved that car. I thought it was the coolest looking car I'd ever seen. I changed my mind. While creating this video, I actually changed my mind about if I could pick one of these cars, which car would I pick? And I used to think this was going to be it. This is just a cool looking car. And I don't know, the interior of it, the shifter kind of had like a turtleneck sweater on the gear shift. It's kind of weird. Middle console, really thick and wide, kind of odd. But the outside of the car, super cool. Anyway, it was not the Lotus. That's my top pick. Now maybe, was it this? Was it the Aston Martin DB5? The ultimate Bond vehicle? The one that everybody highlights? I mean, this is the iconic Bond car. Ooh, it'd be tough. It would be tough to turn this one down. If given the opportunity, of course. Especially since you can buy them with all the gadgets and everything these days. But still, not my favorite. Okay, the Toyota. A Toyota. I couldn't believe it. This is a Toyota 2000 GT. I loved this car. Did it inch up to my favorite? No. Did it inch up as far as in the listing? Absolutely. When I saw the interior of this, I was like, oh, that car is cool. I love it. Love it. Oh, okay. So is it the Aston Martin DBS? What is it? DBS? Yeah, the DBS. No. The Vantage. Aston Martin V8 Vantage Volante. Sorry, that's what this is. Oh, man. There was a time, because the Living Daylights was one of my absolute favorites, and this is a really cool car. This would also be hard to turn down. Spectre, the Aston Martin DB10. Boy, I tell you, when you see the interior of this car, the interior alone would almost make this my number one pick, but still not quite. Not quite. So, my absolute favorite is the Aston Martin. That is from Casino Royale. After looking at the interior, seeing the exterior, the interior, boy, I tell you, this would be my favorite. So it's really funny that after looking through all the cars and thinking, yep, yeah, I'd pick a Lotus any day because I thought it was great. Turned out that the Aston Martin from Casino Royale, that would be my favorite one. And I think this might be the one that the Bond experience, David Zaritsky, I think he owns one of these, and I could see why. So, okay. Honorable mentions. Love the outside of this BMW. Again, however, I tell you, I was a little disappointed when I saw the interior. Again, I was like, it looks like a Honda. It just kind of looks like a right off the factory floor kind of a car. The outside, super cool, but yeah, the inside. Okay, and then the 71 Mustang Mach 1. Had to, again, throw the honorable mention out there for this, that it was the most like my first car. The interior, it looked the most like the interior of my first car because of the year, most likely that it came out. Had the same kind of a console, very similar to my 280Z. Oh, I loved my 280Z. Your first cars are always the ones that you love the most, right? Supposedly. Well, I loved this car. And if I could have one back again, if I could pick one up, I would. I would, just to have at the house and toy around with it, go for a spin again. It'll always have my heart. Okay, well, thanks for watching. I appreciate everybody being here. And go ahead and put it in the comments. Which car would you pick? What is your favorite Bond car? Because I know you've got it. I know we all have one. All right, thanks, guys.